All right, everybody, welcome into Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast. It's where we usually cover baseball or teams attempting to play baseball. I am Paul Russo. Next to me, as always, Kyle Evans, behind the scenes, manning the computers, working the cameras, making sure our audio is tremendous, as always. Nate Sharman, coming to you guys live from FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York, third floor of the North Park building. Is it a happy Monday?
Oh, yeah, it's World Series week. Oh, wait, the Yankees aren't in it. Shocker.
It's fair enough. Baseball fan in me is very pleased that we've made it to Fall Classic week. Yankee fan in me is not pleased. Obviously, a lot to get to there, but I guess other than that, probably it was a decent weekend to go out and do fall activities, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably a better option than watching those games, for sure.
True. Nate, all good back behind the scenes over there? All good?
Yep, all good for me.
Nate, congratulations on your big hole-in-one at Sawgrass over the weekend, by the way.
No, TPC Summerlin.
Oh, my apologies.
I almost made a hole-in-one on a par 4 the day before. I'm talking about a video game here, people. So if I made a hole-in-one on a par 3, you guys, we probably open the show with it. I know the show's not about golf, but
that is
telling
true.
Everybody.
To be fair, if any one of us went to we'll call it a golf course where the tour visits and actually got a hole-in-one, I feel like I don't know if we'd be live right now, actually, to be honest. To be fair, so
that's probably true.
Appreciate it as always, Nate. We'll obviously hear your voice. So, look, not great. Not great stuff in Yankee land. You showed me a meme, and and it's right up my alley. It's from one of my favorite TV shows.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think we'd be laughing right now.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all you can do. Is you just kind of have to laugh through the pain. I guess. I don't know. It hasn't been a great weekend, obviously. Yankees get swept, so we'll obviously cover that. But we'll also look a little bit ahead to our own personal future on the podcast. Obviously, with the offseason, obviously, for now all of our teams that we cover kind of happening, we'll be adjusting schedule of sort and kind of looking and letting you all know about that a little bit. But plenty to get to, I guess, in-game wise here. Obviously, we'll jump right in with the Yankees getting swept. By the Astros. Thursday, Game 2, a 3-2 Houston victory. Saturday, 5-0 Houston victory. And then last night, a 6-5 Houston victory over the Yankees. Not exactly great performances really all around, especially on offense. I feel like, of course, the pitching staff was really let down, or maybe not quite let down is maybe the best term, but certainly not, they didn't have their backs, I guess, is really what I should be getting at here. And you could, I guess, in a way, kind of tell that all around to certain ends, right? I mean, there were moments of really great defensive play by the Yankees, and then there were other moments where I could kind of tell things were just kind of stuck in the head sometimes.
Yeah, the offense didn't seem to help out many of the pitchers, and like you kind of mentioned, a lot of times the defense didn't help out. I mean, There were several miscues that you could go and point at through the first, or all 4 games, I should say. One being last night, that was huge. So, yeah. It's just, I think Garrett Cole said it well. They got beat, in every facet. Like, it wasn't just one part of the game. Like, to me, I know this might be too harsh for some people, but this is how I look at it. It was like a JV and varsity matchup. The Astros are obviously the varsity team, and, the Yankees are the JV team. It just seemed like they were way better, more experience. Like, everything just seemed like everything was clicking for the Astros.
Right. And look, I'm not afraid to eat crow here. I mean, I said I was not afraid of Houston. I wanted Houston, and we got Houston, And this is something that we'll discuss, I think, more on Thursday a little bit. Is we will be still having a show on Thursday. Not to again go too far down the line, but obviously it won't be hyper focused on anything Yankee or Met. Or I guess in the big league sense that related, we'll obviously discuss the World Series a little bit, but it's interesting to me how the Astros they're built in a very strange way to me, but it works. And I mean, I think the fact of the matter is the fact that they just have that core that's been there now for, really, to be fair, building up the better part of a decade now. I mean, Altuve is obviously the longest tenured member on that team at this point. Was there during the very, very low moments of 2012 and 13 and so on and so forth. But, they certainly do a great job at kind of adapting and reloading and just kind of getting it going all over again each year, year in, year out at that point.
Yeah, the thing with the Yankees is they just, like, the Mariners, put up runs, it seemed like, at least competed more. Besides last night, the offense, I would think it's like one of the worst historical performances in the postseason. Like, they struck out, 51 times?
Yep.
I mean, you can't win a game if you just keep striking out. What was it, Game 3? 16 of their, 27 outs were strikeouts? Yeah. You can't win that way. And not just one guy was struggling. It seemed like almost everyone but Anthony Rizzo and Harrison Bader. And even Judge, I mean, these guys just looked lost. Like, it was just sad to see. I thought maybe they would have won last night, but of course the hitting was there and the pitching wasn't. That seems just how that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Game 4 of last night, and I think we can kind of jump into it here. It kind of really encapsulated, in a lot of ways, kind of the Yankees series or season in general, right? I mean, kind of some highs right off the bat. Middle part gets disappointing, a little bit of hope and having fun again in the middle, and kind of just hitters out there at the end.
Yep, and it didn't help, with that big error by Glaber. Well, they gave it to Glaber, but watching the replay, yes, IKF probably could have, made the play if he didn't go to the bag the way he did. But
I think too, and obviously we'll highlight the strikeouts here in just a sec because it's such a glaring thing in and of itself, right? But this Yankee team, especially this year, and it's the same thing I had, I think, the past couple of years, just fundamentally not good. Like, the double play, right? The would-be double play. And I know, to me, I think it's at equal parts Glaber and IKF as a whole, but that is not a play at the big league level that you should be messing up in a moment like that. And like I said, I know people are saying IKF's at fault, Glaber's at fault. To me, it's on both, right? So, it's baffling.
And look at this stat. And during the regular season, they made just 74 errors, which is the 7th fewest. But in the postseason, they made 6 errors in 9 games. It seems like these players, as soon as the moment was big, they just fell apart.
Yeah,
that's just how it seemed. It didn't matter if they're on the road or at home. Just big errors. I mean, look at the ALDS, the drop fly balls in left field. It was a Game 3. Judge and Bader almost collided, and Bader drops the ball. That led to a 2-run homer, which put the Astros up 2-0. Just little things in the postseason. Obviously, they're going to hurt you.
And this is something that I do want to bring up right now. I didn't leave space for it right here, but I guess this part's maybe looking back on the season as a whole and something that we'll obviously discuss at a future podcast. But I feel like it's justifiable here, right? Is a guy like IKF, right, for example, who bring over in a trade, kind of force Donaldson upon us all year in a way. But a guy like IKF who, has he played shortstop before this year? Yeah, but he won a Gold Glove at third base. He's been playing out position all year technically, and just couldn't find a groove all year. And to me, it's tough at that point to expect a guy to maybe find that groove in a very effectively what was obviously a 4-game sample size or a 9-game total sample size.
The Yankees have to admit that trade was not good. I mean, Josh Donaldson pretty much did nothing all year. Yeah, he had a walk-off grand slam and, another walk-off on opening day. But aside from that, the guy was lost. To me, it kind of looks like he can't even see at the plate. It's bad.
I said this last night on Twitter because somebody, I forget who exactly, brought up the tweet from March 13th when the trade went down with Minnesota, and I quote tweeted it, and I'm like, it's a fun one to think about in retrospect, right? A guy who failed all year, a.k.a. Donaldson, a guy who was opposition all year and could never find a groove, a.k.a. Connor Falefa, and a guy who I'm not even sure really exists in Ben Workvet. And the fact of the matter is, if it wasn't to me for the Bader trade, which even then I'm still kind of questioning overall in the grand scheme of things, sadly enough, that would have been the biggest acquisition all year.
Yeah, and how about the fact that Aaron Boone said he's one of the best shortstops, in terms of defense in the league, but yet they bench him during the playoffs, and then start him in an elimination game last night.
Yeah.
No, you're not confident with him, and he's not the best, or else you wouldn't have benched him. It's just, they have to admit that was a mistake, and they couldn't trust him in the big moment, and it's just, it's a mess.
Yeah, so that's a perfect segue here. We can really jump in now with first off, we'll go with the stat that you brought up, and 50 strikeouts throughout the ALCS, just absurd. 17 in Game 1, 13 in Game 2, it was 11 in Game 3, and then 9 last night. Just ridiculous. And the guy who was headlining it is Josh Donaldson, who had 16 of those strikeouts.
And then Matt Carpenter's up there, but those guys are in two different situations, as we kind of talked last time. Matt Carpenter, hasn't played in 2 months. He got some time in, the alternate site, but other than that, he hasn't seen live pitching. Donaldson's been there all year.
Now, I will say this on the Carpenter front as well. I definitely don't think he was healthy to, let me rephrase, he was healthy enough to play. But that last at-bat last night when he had the dribble to first base to Gurriel, you could clearly tell that he was not running at full, not so much full speed. I mean, I think he did what a lot of big leaguers kind of do and just kind of trotted out, but you could kind of tell he was favoring that left foot still. Kind of putting to me, it was a lot of pressure on the right side of the run there. Yeah, I mean, Donaldson strikes out 16 times. I didn't phrase it right on the screen, but 16 times in the postseason. So obviously he's the headliner of this. And to me, I think it's justifiably fair to kind of pin a lot of this maybe on him. Pin's probably not the right word, but to have him be the headliner. The part that I don't understand, though, is just the outright all-on Donaldson aspect of this, when it was really the lineup as a whole that's kind of failing to get going at any point.
It was a lineup as a whole, but I just think because of how, a lot of times he just wouldn't swing the bat.
Yeah.
And then more times than not, the pitches were right down the middle. It's like, how are you missing your major league player? I mean, their fastballs are mid-90s. How are you not hitting these? I mean, sometimes he's not even making contact. Like last night, he struck out on 3 pitches.
Yeah.
They're not even competitive at bats. Where Carpenter, had some 3-2 counts.
Always swinging.
Yeah, and he was falling off balls, at least trying to get on. Sometimes Donaldson looks like he just doesn't try.
Yeah, well, and I definitely want to revisit the Carpenter thing, but it will be when we kind of really get into the Aaron Boone stuff. Again, to piggyback off that, you look at a guy like Giancarlo, right? Struck out, did it looking, but at the very least, I think with him, what helps his case, and it's something that we have brought up on here before, the fact that he's not afraid to admit when it is on him. He has never been one to kind of stray away from the light or the spotlight, and has never, I guess, really needed the front offices or Boone or whoever's, protection in that sense.
Yeah, the thing with this series is I think that the Yankees had a great opportunity. They were getting pitched to well, but they also missed so many pitches. Every hitter was missing pitches. Yeah. If you go back and watch highlights, you'll see they're right down the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going on, why they're behind pitches. I don't know why the timing was off. Obviously, they had Verlander on the ropes in Game 1. They had, they got to McCullers early last night. Valdez, they got to him early, but they couldn't add on to it.
Right.
So many times they had these pitchers on the ropes, but they couldn't add to it.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. And I think this can also now segue into really, I guess, partially of the Aaron Boone discussion here is all of a sudden just starts flinging different lineups out there and different managerial decisions. I mean, it's something that obviously we discussed Thursday, but you look at Game 2 and all of a sudden Peraza's is in the lineup. Just not random, but like you look at Saturday with Game 3, just having Rizzo bat leadoff, only to go back to Bader for Game 4. And then there was stuff last night, like I personally, and I was texting a friend about this in game, and he brought up a good point, right? Is Isaiah Kiner-Falefa going to hit a home run in that situation? No, probably not, but I'll at least give IKF credit compared to Donaldson, who was led off the inning. At least IKF was swinging the bat that game last night. Like, I would have at least put the ball, had the guy who was getting the ball in play over the guy who just stands there, might as well go up there with a friggin' plastic Nerf sword.
Yeah, it makes no sense to go up there. It's kind of reminds me of Joey Gallo going up there looking for a walk. Yeah. Like, you can't just stand there. Like, yeah, I get you're trying to get on base, and then Aaron Boone's excuse for, not moving him down in the order or not taking him out of the lineup is because he gets on base. Oh, really? I mean, he doesn't look like he gets on base very much. I don't know the exact numbers, but the guy just stands there. He doesn't really, unless the pitcher actually pitches around him or can't find the zone, Donaldson is not getting on base.
So, and part of that to me, too, is, like, at what point, like, if you're Boone, at what point in the series was he waving just the symbolic white flag?
And I can't believe that the front office, like, I'm sure, obviously, they always, like, talk with Boone before the game. Right. But did they really, they were okay with just switching shortstops all the time? Like, they were all in on Peraza one day, and then, Kiner-Falefa another day, and then Oswaldo Cabrera another day. Like,
right.
Like, I know Aaron Boone, is a manager, but like we mention all the time, he doesn't just make all the decisions. He has the front office people, everyone talking to him. I just can't believe that, like, they kept going back and forth, and they were okay with it.
I have one question. Is this too mean to say about Josh Donaldson? Take your eyes to the screen, please.
No, you're probably giving him too much credit.
Yeah, I agree.
Clark at least swung the bat. Yeah, I mean, again, like, part of this just circles back to, and this is a different discussion for probably, like, next week's podcast, but, like, at what point are we just going to see Hal just finally just burn the front office to the ground? I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately, because the money's still good, but there has to be changes, right? I mean, but again, to me, I think it has to come from Cashman first. Cashman's got to go.
I think everyone has to go. Yeah. Literally, there has to be a change, like an entire change.
It's just, when he sent Matt Carpenter up the pinch hit for IKF last night, I was like, just go hand Dusty a cigar. Like, that's what you're doing. So, I don't really know. All right, the final, at least, I guess, gameplay related thing I do want to discuss is Nestor Cortes. Gets pulled mid-third inning after giving up a 3-run home run with a groin injury. I know a lot of people are speculative, and to me it's not fair because I will say the reason why, that it was a fraud inning or a fraud injury type thing. But Nestor looked off from pretty much after the first out in the second inning for sure. Jeff Rancourt on the broadcast even brought up the fact that his fastball, which started at least in the low 90s, ended up dipping into the high 80s. Something clearly was not right. I would have, when they did the first mound visit with the training staff, that's when I would have pulled him at that point for sure. I felt it was wrong to more or less leave him out there at that point when clearly something's wrong. But I get that he is a gamer, and I get that he's going to say he's fine enough to go. But in a situation like that, you have a 3-0 lead, guys are on base, just pull them. Like, you have to just be honest with them. Don't leave them out there, to me, to be just fed to the wolves like that. Especially, if your logic on saving guys at that point is health, like the Yankees have been allegedly saying all year, then what difference does it make when you're already way behind the 8 ball in the series anyway?
And then Aaron Boone says on the postgame show, which I thought was kind of shocking, that this actually is something he started to feel during a bullpen in the ALDS. Yeah. Like, really? And it didn't bother him that much back then, but now it bothered him in this game. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't...
To me, at that point, then why wasn't Tyone starting today? Yesterday or something like that?
I know, it
You
just
know.
doesn't make any sense. I don't know. There's so many questions, but I mean, we knew they were going to, lose the series. They're down 3-0. What is only one team ever came back from 3-0?
Yep.
So, like, no matter if they won the game last night, we knew they were going to lose. But the decision-making and everything that keeps going on is just, it's starting to get to the point where I think fans just don't care anymore. Why care if the Yankees don't care?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, they had plenty of guys to be a turn to, right? I mean, Herman's obviously, albeit in the bullpen. I mean, you've kind of gone with him, and again, credit to Wandy. Every day, Wandy Peralta just goes out there and more or less was able, to keep the cork on the season and try and do something for the guys out there, and just nobody to save them.
Yeah, and I also just want to bring up this. How about when Aaron Boone said Domingo Germán will only be used in long relief or whatever? Well, wouldn't
Right there was their example, right there.
yesterday have been an option? But then instead you just keep, piecing relievers together and really pushing Wandy, who's over 40 pitches.
Yeah. I mean, the whole pitching situation yesterday was kind of mind-boggling.
And then I see you got Matt Blake in his ear telling him this and telling him that. It's like, Jesus.
Right. I mean, I just, they were all, like, last night I didn't know you had Clay Holmes out there for a second inning. Very moot point. Already had 21 pitches.
Yeah, Germán got 1 inning on Saturday.
Very long appearance.
And that was his only appearance ever of the postseason. Even in the ALDS, he didn't appear in a single game.
Yeah.
Like, why would you carry him on the roster if you're not going to use him?
Yeah. I think the fact of the matter is that we both expect changes with the Yankees, and we're very hesitant to see that actually come to fruition.
Yeah, I think there's no way it happens.
Yeah. All right, so that'll wrap up at least the recap stuff here. Looking ahead to really the rest of, I guess, the year and off season for the podcast, we'll still have one more episode this week on Thursday as we originally planned. But after that, we'll move to once a week for the time being. Obviously, with the off season, there's not a lot to talk about. Kind of adjust from there as needed. Even though we're both big baseball guys, trust us when we say there gets to certain points in, say, December and even early January, where you're just kind of grasping at straws as to what to talk about. So, for the time being, at the very least through the World Series and probably a few weeks after that, we'll be going once a week. There'll still be plenty of headlines to talk about for both the Yankees and Mets, essentially, as well as the Mets and Red Wings. We haven't forgot about them. So Thursday, at least, will be World Series preview. We will discuss that a little bit because, hey, it's Fall Classic. Still one of to me, it's, the best of the postseason. Big Four sports, I'd say.
Yeah.
So plenty to discuss there. We'll also start our probably recaps of seasons for the teams that we cover. Probably start with the Mets. I know they have a lot of their awards and stuff out already, so we'll touch on them and really get going into that. And plus, who knows what else might kind of pop up in between now and then. I mean, I think we're cautiously optimistic about what could happen, but you never know. So that'll wrap up Concrete Jungle then for today. Obviously, we wish it could have been longer and brighter, but it's the way baseball is sometimes.
Yeah, I was only at least hoping for a game tonight, just to extend the season at least one more day, but of course that didn't happen.
Rough taste in the mouth. Nate, appreciate you as always behind the scenes, managing the stuff behind there. Any big plans for the week, Kyle? Nate, anything?
Just watching the Sabres continue to roll, hopefully. Maybe go to the game Thursday, I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, that sounds good, Kyle. It's a nice hot start for the Sabres, so there's some positives going on, right?
Yeah.
And plenty of positives to keep around here. Next Tuesday will be the premiere of our daily show here on FL1, FL Finger Lakes today, so looking forward to that.
Yep, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Tuesday morning.
You'll be able to see all our faces at certain points on there, whether you like it or not. So appreciate everybody, as always, for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe on YouTube and also on the podcast feeds. Really appreciate if you left feedback and stuff like that. Helps us out. Catch up anytime on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify. And until Thursday, have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll talk to you then.